Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the minds of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Monday, June 23rd. LA Galaxy back in action as they take on Colorado Rapids coming up on Wednesday, then away up to San Jose, actually Stanford Stadium, to take on the San Jose Earthquakes. So that's coming up for you this week. So lots of soccer action finally back in for Major League Soccer. Everything starting again there. The U19s, a little bit of a dynasty run here. We'll talk about their victory in the MLS Next Cup. So we have that as well, and some rumors around Julian Aude, maybe some other stuff that we can sprinkle in there as well. To help me do all that, he's back. We're glad to have him. It's Kevin the Panda Baxter, live and in Technicolor, perhaps.
Yeah, we got rid of all the technical difficulties. The guys in the production truck out there, good job, everybody. I'm here live and moving and everything, so that's great.
I was gonna say, if you're counting on the guys in the truck to fix things, we're gonna have a problem, because those guys aren't supposed to be out there in front of your house, I don't think. So,
oh yeah, those are different guys.
Absolutely.
You're the guy in the truck.
Yeah, that was we finally. By the way, do you want to know what fixed it? Did you try turning it off and then turning it back on again? No, that wasn't it. It was an uninstall reinstall though. On the third try, eventually it got it fixed. So we're glad we're back.
Well,
we're here.
You know, I've told you this a million times. I'm just waiting for this whole internet thing to just blow over. It's a fad. It's going to go away. We're going back to typewriters, and I can hardly wait.
And yeah, then we're everybody's going to be good, right? That's how it works. All right, good deal. So much soccer, Kevin, yet not that much soccer. There's a lot of competitive games going on between Gold Cup. You have the Club World Cup in there as well. Messi and Miami winning their group in the Club World Cup. Should we be surprised there? Also, maybe Messi and friends suddenly finding some really nice form in the Club World Cup, and does that translate back over to MLS whenever they do eventually get back to MLS, which is what they're going to have to do? And then are they so many games behind? Is that going to be a problem as well? Lots of questions about Club World Cup and sort of everything in there.
Yeah, I mean, I went to 3 Club World Cup games at the Rose Bowl. Really good crowds. I saw PSG, Inter Milan, any game involving a Champions League finalist I went to. And the level of play was actually, as you probably might expect, was actually really good. I think the surprising thing is how well the South American teams have done. The Latin American teams, which include Monterrey, I think 5 of the 6 entered Monday unbeaten. And then how poorly the MLS teams have done. LAFC did not score a goal in its 2 losses. They play again tomorrow, Tuesday. Seattle was eliminated. They're winless. They went 0-3. They did score a couple of goals, but they went 0-3. They're out. Miami, as you mentioned, winning their group. And they will go through. But, I mean, 2 of the 3 teams didn't even win a game. One of them didn't even score a goal. And it wasn't like they were all playing, Bayern Munich every week or every game. They played some decent opponents, but I still don't know why this competition exists. I mean, it's been fun. It's been compelling, but capacity of the stadiums, half full. So that means half the stadiums were empty through 34 games. This comes right at the end of it. It's basically squeezed in between the 2 European seasons. One European season just ended. Another will start in about 6 weeks, and they've kind of squeezed that in between them. And players aren't getting any rest. There's a number of players this year that played 70 games for club and country.
Right.
And now they're going into a new season after this Club World Cup. They're not going to get really any kind of rest for 22 months, and it's got to impact the quality of play at the World Cup next summer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, even taking it all the way around there. I think the focus has been also on the weather here in the United States and the heat, right?
Oh,
and the humidity and everything that's been going on.
There's going to be a game tomorrow in East Rutherford. I forget who's playing, but it's going to be 101 degrees. There's a heat warning in Philadelphia. There's going to be another game. There's going to be afternoon games in Nashville and Charlotte, 95 degrees, humidity. A lot of the European players, Borussia Dortmund didn't even come out of the locker room. They're substitutes for the first half of their game in Cincinnati. They stayed in the locker room, in the air-conditioned locker room, watching the game on TV. This is a real wake-up call for a lot of players who are going to come back here for the World Cup, the real World Cup next year. And the other thing, I mean, again, this competition has been compelling. It's been fun to watch. It's been fun to see, like, Botafogo playing against Paris Saint-Germain and Monterrey against Inter Miami. That's it been, or Inter Milan rather. It's been kind of fun to see that stuff. But when it's all said and done, PSG right now, they're the Champions League winner. And so they're considered the best club team in the world. If Inter Miami wins this tournament, they're into the next round. If Inter Miami wins this tournament, then do we say, you know what, they're better than Paris Saint-Germain? And it's, the Mexican teams, the MLS teams, they're in the middle of their season. Some of the Brazilian teams, they're in the middle of the season. The European teams just finished. Some guys, some of the teams finished at the beginning of May and sort of had to stay in training, like for example, Atletico Madrid. So all of a sudden, if an MLS team or if a team from South Africa or somewhere wins this tournament, then are they the best team in the world? I just don't know that you can say that.
Yeah, but how can you say that any other? It's one of those things. This is always the argument. You finally put them face to face. This is a chance you get it, right? I mean, this is the chance. This is the only way that you can ever prove yes, yay or nay. And you're right. It doesn't mean anything. But if PSG don't win the tournament, if they do win the tournament, then they're clearly the best team in the world, right?
But and it's fun for the fans of these teams. Like some of the South American teams again who never really get the credit they deserve. They're going up against these big European teams, and if they win, it's great. If they lose, it's no skin off their nose because they're supposed to lose. But one of the things I talked to some FIFA officials about this, and I said, the same argument I just made to you. Paris Saint-Germain is the best team in the world, and he said, who said that? We don't know that. What if they go against the Monterrey of Mexico and they lose? Mm-hmm. Monterrey better on that day, and they said, as Bruce Arenas always used to say. Soccer is a sport where upsets are common because it's a low-scoring game. You get a freak goal early in the game, park the bus, you win 1-0. An inferior team can beat a superior team just about on any given day in soccer. And so that's what's made this competition so compelling is some of these little minnows can really beat the whales.
Yeah. By the way, Palmeiras is the one who's going to win the Miami group there. They both tied for points, but it's going to be Palmeiras who I believe advances on goal differential on this. So
and they played today. They played each other today, so they must finish in a tie.
Yep, I believe that might have been the case. I was trying to get. Let me see if I can give you the score. Yeah, 2-2 full time there. All right. So So no, just interesting how it goes. I haven't been watching the Club World Cup as much. I did get to hang out with one of my friends who's from Germany, and I went over to his house, so we watched the Bayern game. Playing against Boca, and so that was, I think, the one game that I somewhat paid attention to. I have been watching some of the Gold Cup though, seeing some of those games, watching those whenever they pop up, and able to turn them on. So there's a lot of soccer that way. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: what's been more compelling? I usually am following the Gold Cup at this time too, but I think the Club World Cup games have been, as much as I don't like this tournament for a number of reasons, right. The Club World Cup games have been way better, more compelling, more interesting, more fun to watch than, U.S. Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the level of soccer is mostly better in the Club World Cup. Mostly, right? Not always, but mostly. Maybe that's not even fair because, if you're looking at the upper echelons of CONCACAF, you still have teams like the United States, which, meh. Right now, Mexico, Canada, the USA is playing against Costa Rica soon. I mean, there's still some good teams that are around. So it's just stuff to watch. But yeah, I've been watching a little bit of World Cup just because I'm always paying attention to the U.S. men's national team that started a long time ago. As a matter of fact, Kevin, today is the 15-year anniversary of Landon Donovan scoring the Algeria goal. Now, let's play a game that everybody likes to play. Where were you when Landon Donovan scored that goal, Kevin? I was in the media tribune in South Africa at that game, and I'll tell you what, the Algerian goalkeeper should have been the player of the match. He was amazing, and it was kind of bittersweet that he got beat on that goal because obviously the U.S. they win the group, they advance. They were in danger of not advancing if Landon hadn't scored that goal. So all those things were good for the U.S., but man, that Algerian goalkeeper, he was amazing, and it was a rebound. Remember, it was a goal off a rebound.
Yes.
It was like it was a jailbreak. It was like 10-on-1. The U.S. came in. Josie Altidore made a pass, I think, to Clint Dempsey. I think Clint Dempsey took the shot. The goalkeeper made a great save, but he couldn't hold on to the ball. It bounced right to Landon, who was following the play. Very smart play on Landon's part.
It was that's why if you watch any of the videos, and one of the reasons I think it's possibly one of the greatest U.S. men's national team goals ever is because of the fact that everybody's sort of watching and they're like, yes, because they see the ball going to Clint Dempsey, and then everybody goes, no, and then that ball just rolls out and it sits there waiting for Landon Donovan to come up, and then there's one video that I saw where you're watching everybody in a bar, and one guy on the far right hand side realizes that ball is going to go to Landon Donovan, and he starts celebrating before Landon even gets there, right? Like he can see the future, right? He came from the future. He knew it was going to happen. It goes in and everybody goes. So it's this, yes, no, yes, right? And all the videos and everything.
When you watch the video, and I think a lot of people will have watched the replay today, or we'll go maybe after the show, I thought Landon was very smart because, again, Josie Altidore, Clint Dempsey, I think there might have been another player. They were all like Olympic 100-meter dash sprinters. They were up there. Landon purposely hung back a little bit, which put him in perfect position. You hear that a lot from coaches. Don't run yourself out of the play. Don't get too close to the ball that when the rebound comes out, you're out of place. Landon played that one perfectly. And another thing I remember about this game, and I know you have a story too, but so Landon scores the goal.
Right.
They win the group. They advance to first place. We go down to the mix zone, which is at international competitions. You don't go into the locker room like you do in the U.S. You go down to a mix zone, and the players come through. And the U.S. soccer communications people just kept saying, wait a minute, they'll be here. Hold on, they'll be here. We waited over an hour, and that's a long time to wait for the players. When they finally came out, they told us that Bill Clinton had been there and went into the locker room to congratulate them and started drinking beer with the players. And so they were drinking beer with the ex-president rather than coming to talk to us. I don't understand why they made that decision. But, yeah, when they came out, a few of them were a little bit loopy.
My story is I was watching at work because it was at work, and my dad had come in and been like, hey, so how's it looking? Because he knew I was watching. Everybody knew I was watching. I think I was probably wearing a USA jersey at the time, and he was like, "How's it looking?" I'm like, "It's not good. It's not good." And he's like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "What's the score?" I'm like, "It's 0 students. I don't think they're going through, right? Or as it stands right now, they're not going through." And this is literally like a minute before we go into stoppage time. And so I just yelled out 4 minutes of stoppage time, the whole deal and that type of thing. And then the next thing you know, you see the break start. And I said, "Hey, wait a minute." And I called him. I'm like, "Wait a minute, something's on here," right? As the ball got played out by Howard and goes to Landon, and the ball gets played through and the whole deal, and then then the entire office, all in. Remember, this is like a place of business. We are working. All of a sudden, you just hear me screaming and like running around the whole thing. It was stupid. It was the most fun soccer moment, like individual single soccer moment for national team stuff that I have any memory of, and that will be like tops as far as it goes. So you want to talk overall soccer moments, I can talk about some Zlatan moments where I was like jaw on the floor type stuff as well, and loudness and being there in person, but watching on TV was pretty crazy. Well,
but that's not your story.
That's not my story.
Tell your story. Tell your story.
My story. Well, so after that game, let's do it this way. Landon Donovan went on social media today to celebrate the 15th anniversary of that particular goal, and so he decided to read tweets from 15 years ago to do it. And I know most of the people who are in the chat room already know where this story is going because you all tagged me in videos. But Landon started his video by reading a tweet from yours truly. That's at Jay Guesman right there. I said, "Going to my cousin's high school graduation party tonight. Do you think the U.S. men's national team Landon Donovan jersey is appropriate? Thoughts?" And that was the first one that Landon's response was, of course it's appropriate. It was appropriate. It's appropriate then, and it's appropriate now. So, and then he went through and read tweets from, Pete Carroll was in there and stuff. So I felt like I was in pretty high company there. I mean, leading off the entire segment for him. So, the only thing this means, by the way, and I've said this to a bunch of different friends who have tagged me in this video, is it means we're old. That's what it means. Landon, it means you're old. It means I'm old. That's what that means. 15 years ago, we're able to look back at that. So it was
15 years, not that long.
It's one of those that if you ask me how long ago that was, I was like, what is that, 5-6 years ago? This can't be 15.
Yeah.
That sounds ridiculous. So anyway, just a little U.S. men's national team throwback there, and also to let you all know, I did see the video. So you can keep sending it to me. I enjoy it. I'm just saying I did see it, and I quite enjoyed the. I didn't expect that when I woke up this morning that Landon would be responding to a tweet that I put out 15 years ago. But you know what? Why not? Why not?
So biggest goal in U.S. men's national team history, would it be that one, Caligari's goal to get them in the World Cup in 1990? I got to put that one a little higher because they hadn't been in the World Cup in 40 years before Caligari's goal.
It is. If you're talking about a moment that galvanized the United States as what we would, we always argue about whether or not this country is a soccer nation, right? And you and I get to see it all the time. Whether that's watching MLS or men's national teams or women's national teams or anything like that, you can see it. But that moment was because of social media, because of everything else. That might have been the biggest moment in U.S. soccer, in terms of singular moment that didn't mean much. You can talk about the women winning World Cups being, much more significant to what it is. But for me, like that is like the biggest moment that sort of took over the nation. It was on news. It was on everywhere. And the reaction videos were on. I still watch the reaction videos and cry every single time, mostly because they have the music from Rudy playing in it, right? And I know that music, and I'm already going to Rudy. If Rudy comes on at any time, I will stop and I will watch it, and I will immediately start crying, even if it's not at that part. And then my wife will come in and she's like, "Why are you crying at this part?" I'm like, "Because I know what happens at the end. They're going Rudy, and I'll start crying." So that's one of the things.
What about Rocky? You do that with Rocky too?
No.
Rocky also?
Rocky as well. I was like, which Rocky? Rocky 2? No, I'm more of a, what is it, Rocky 4 with the Russian?
Yeah.
That's my favorite Rocky right there. If I can change and you can change, then we all can change. Classic.
Yeah,
Classic
those movies were so subtle. You really had to search for the message.
Oh no, it was good, but it went back to a time, and those squads, and especially that squad in particular, I think was a pretty special one in terms of what they were trying to do. And then having Landon on there, and Clint Dempsey, and Josie Altidore, and Tim Howard. I mean, you could go through that squad. Those were some golden years of U.S. soccer. So it's always fun to reminisce a little bit about that. Yeah.
And Landon was playing for which team? Which MLS team?
LA Galaxy. I remember these.
Do you know that? Here's a bit of trivia for you.
Yes.
Since MLS was instituted in 1996, a Galaxy player has been on every U.S. World Cup team except 2022. First time the Galaxy were not represented. They may have been in 2018. But, of course, they didn't make the World Cup, so it didn't matter. I guess they would have been Omar Gonzalez. But 2022, no Galaxy players.
Yeah, Giassi's Artist was on there for a little bit, and I covered some of the U.S. guys. That would be my way to cover U.S. soccer, was to be able to cover the L.A. Galaxy guys, because that was sort of my focus on it.
Edson Buttle was there in South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Landon Donovan, Edson Buttle. Giassi's Artist, Omar Gonzalez. I'm trying to think. AJ De La Garza had a call up for a game or two.
Yeah, but he played for Guam.
He did eventually play for Guam. That is correct.
On the Jet was there a lot. Never went to a World Cup though.
Well, let's get to some LA Galaxy news then. We teased it a little bit at the beginning, but the LA Galaxy U19s, victors in MLS Next Cup. Now, the reason that some of you may have been actually watching it was great timing with no MLS games going on to be able to pull up some of these academy teams. And watching the U19 final was actually a pretty interesting game. Actually, I thought the game before this was a better game, only because the final game had a red card in it from a goalkeeper in about the 26th, 27th minute. Most of these games have been played on turf, right? So you're playing on AstroTurf, and then the final was played on grass. And the ball checked up weird on grass, and it probably wouldn't have checked up in the same way on turf. And the goalkeeper misplayed it, and he ends up slipping, and he's falling backwards, and he's a good 6-7 yards outside his box. And he basically, the ball's like going to come hit him in the face as he's slipping backwards, and he knows if he doesn't touch it, like that the Galaxy are going to walk the ball into the net, and he just touches it with his hands, and it's like, okay, that's a red card. So they basically played down a man, and that was the end of that game. It was still competitive, but at the same time, the Galaxy were the better team, and the Galaxy were the better team for most of this. The LA Galaxy U19s defeated the Cedar Stars Academy 3-1 in the final. That makes them the 2025 U19 MLS Next Cup champions. And this was all played in Murfreesboro, Tennessee on Sunday morning. If you didn't wake up early, you would have missed it. You had goals from Christian Correas, Dylan Vanny, and I'm gonna screw this, Olawa Coyote Aina. And I am so sorry that I am not good with that name at all. But they all scored a goal there. One of the rising stars in this tournament, one of the guys who has, if you talk to Damian Calhoun about it, Damian's always watching some of the academy guys coming in. But one of the rising stars in this is Dylan Vanny, playing in the number 10 shirt.
That name sounds familiar.
Yep. It is the second
Dylan
wave.
Sounds familiar.
It is the second wave of the Vannies coming in, along with his brother in there as well. So, but Dylan Vanny wearing the 10 shirt had his fingerprints all over this game. Greg Vanny was quoted today as saying, if you watch all those academy teams playing, that the Galaxy Academy teams are playing different. They play different. They play a different style, and you can see that. This team, by the way, makes them the first MLS Academy team to win 3 consecutive MLS Next Cup champions, right? So follow along with the 2023 U17s, the 2024 U17s, and the 2025 U19s. And as guys sort of progress upwards in that, they're kind of carrying the same players from the U17s up to the U19s over the course of the 3 years. And so you're getting a lot of guys who are part of championship teams through all 3 years in that. So a pretty big accomplishment for that. Greg Vanny, in his time off, was actually there. He made himself available as a resource to those guys. And also got to see his kids playing. So there's worse things in the world, but pretty big deal for the U19s. And one of the things we've sort of been watching is the development of the LA Galaxy Academy under Greg Vanny and sort of the revamp that took place whenever he came in. Mike Munoz in there as well. And these guys, sort of trying to mold and shape what this academy is going to be. You're on the cusp, on the footsteps here, Kevin, at U19 level of one guy's going to play in college, and there's a bunch of guys going to play in college. And 2 is that the next step for that could be Ventura County. And getting into MLS Next Pro. So some of these could be pro contracts, sort of taking that next step in the ladder, but getting to hoist a trophy again for the U19s there.
Well, I mean, that certainly looks great, winning 3 in a row and basically the same crop of people. But correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember the Galaxy Academy being productive like FC Dallas, like Philadelphia. I mean, they need to take that next step. We've heard Efrain Alvarez, he was going to be the next great player and never really worked out with the Galaxy. I know Jassie's Artist played a few games in the academy, not many.
The minimum amount in order to make sure he was an academy player,
came up. And then I know Dan Steris and Dave Romney. I don't know if you really consider them academy players. They came and they played for Galaxy too.
Julian Araujo was also part of some academy time there.
Although a lot of his stuff was at the Barcelona Academy in Arizona.
Agreed. Yep.
So, the Galaxy. This is great that the Galaxy have won these 3 championships, but I still think there's a lot of work to be done because now you need to translate that from the academy team to the first team, and it doesn't mean those guys necessarily have to play for the Galaxy. They are assets now. You can trade them. You can transfer them. You can get money from them. But you got to get something out of them. They're just the fact they won 3, age group titles. That's tremendous. But the Galaxy have got to get some value of that at the first team level.
Do you want to hear my counterpoint to all that? Which is how many MLS Cups have Philadelphia and Dallas won? Because
that's a good point. In Philadelphia, in fact, you can even be harder in Philadelphia because not only haven't they won any MLS Cups, but they still have one of the lowest salaries. They always have had one of the lowest salaries in the league. And you think if you're turning players out and creating opportunities, the Red Bulls have also done that as well. The Red Bulls have had a lot of players that they've sent out. But You're right. The academy systems, I think those are the vaunted ones, right? Those are the ones we talk about, Philadelphia, Red Bulls, and Dallas. When's the last time Dallas won an MLS title?
Yeah. I know the answer for New York, by the way. They all know that answer for the Red Bulls. They haven't, And I think I don't believe Philadelphia has won one, and Dallas has. They
a long time ago.
It was a while ago. But
before Landon Donovan beat Algeria.
Probably, yes. It was probably one of those. But no, that's sort of those things. By the way, we were talking about temperature, and it reminded me of temperature games because we were saying, what's it going to be like next year for the World Cup? And we're sort of trying to predict this temperature on this. I remember in 2009, I was in Seattle, I think, and Don Garber was trying to hype up the fact that I believe Toronto was in 2010. They were going to play in Toronto in 2010 for the MLS Cup. Remember, this was still neutral sites, right? And in 2010. So in 2009, during MLS Cup, he's like, hey, it was 50 degrees in Toronto, right? Like, not a problem. And then the next year, I think it was like 28 degrees or, 27 degrees or 30 degrees, right on the cusp of freezing whenever they went to kick that game off. And it was cold and miserable. And it was a game that saw it go to extra time between Colorado and FC Dallas, of which Colorado won on an own goal, by the way, if you were so lucky to be challenged on that particular game. But yes, I was there watching that game too. I was at a bar watching that one. Yeah.
Speaking of World Cup weather, in 2014, the U.S. played a group play game in Manaus, which is on the edge of the Amazon, and it was maybe 700 or 800 degrees with equal humidity. It was brutal. And Jurgen Klinsmann, who was the coach of the U.S. team, wanted the players not to focus on the heat, wanted to take their mind off the heat. So he actually came out for warm-ups wearing a sweater. Might have even had a jacket over it. And the idea being like, it's not hot, guys. It's fine.
Can you believe that crap ever works? Like some of the stuff that they try, like you're like, really? These aren't full-grown adult men who know what you're trying to do.
Speaking of the weather, though, it is going to be a major issue. It already has been in this Club World Cup, and the African teams probably aren't going to feel it. Maybe some of the Middle Eastern teams. One of the things is that the MLS teams, even though they didn't do well, the MLS players have so much of an advantage with travel and the weather. But that's why I was really surprised that FIFA gave the final to East Rutherford, which is an open-air stadium. We know the weather on the East Coast has been kind of funky the last few years, very hot and very humid, could be rain. You've got more than a few stadiums with roofs, Atlanta, AT&T in Arlington, Texas, SoFi, where they could have played and the weather would not be an issue. I think FIFA should be very concerned that when they wake up to play that World Cup final next July 2026, it could be rain, could be monsoon, could be really bad weather, and they're going to be playing in an open-air stadium, and there's going to be a bunch of closed stadiums around the U.S. that are going to be empty that day.
By the way, FC Dallas also on the list of teams not to win an MLS Cup. I thought they were there too, Kevin. They've only appeared in an MLS Cup once against Colorado,
and they're an original franchise.
They are. Same with New York Red Bulls, right? You can look at those. New York Red Bulls only made 2 total finals appearances. Of course, we all know who the leader in total final appearances is, and that would be the LA Galaxy with 10, and then 6 wins from the LA Galaxy in that one. So. It's looking at all this and watching weather and doing all those things. I will say, keep an eye on weather just for Wednesday night. In Colorado at this time of year, there tends to be thunderstorms in the afternoon. Yes, you can miss them. I haven't checked the weather because it wasn't that high on my list, but I'm just warning everybody. Those are things that happen in the summer in Colorado. And weird things, as we've often said, happen in Colorado. So that's something to watch
and
for.
Flying into that airport, every time I fly in or out of there, it's like I'm on a knuckleball. It just blows around everywhere.
It is. You're out in the plains there. You're out in the plains there, and you have these 15,000 foot peaks that are just to your west. So if you imagine all the air trying to go across those and going up and getting all turbulent and dropping down into, it's a good place for weather. That's why they say if you don't like the weather in Denver, just wait 10 minutes and it'll probably change, which is 100% correct. I've woken up to a nice warm day, and it has finished by snowing that evening. So it is a crazy place. So just sort of watch that. Other LA Galaxy news: Greg Vanney talking about Riqui Puig today. That was one of the big takeaways from all of the media surrounding the lead up to Colorado and headed into San Jose. So Greg Vanney talking about Riqui Puig. Riqui Puig will be making more appearances out on the field in training. While there's no timeline yet, what they're expecting is that he's going to start working out on the field, that he's going to start, doing some of the soccer stuff that he needs to do. If you looked at any of his Instagram videos, you have seen that he sort of has moseyed his way back into LA again. So he's going to be out on the field. He's going to be working with the trainers every single day. They're going to start to do that. And as they sort of develop through some of these things that he has to clear and check off, and they're going to check in with him all the time, they're going to develop a timeline for his return. So
I feel like they had a schedule already, though.
I mean, the fact that he's on, even if you figure it's going to take him a month and a half of sort of training, then he's just on-field stuff before he can get back in. You're looking at a guy who's going to be coming back, end of July, middle of August, maybe end of August.
Leagues Cup? Maybe Leagues Cup?
I think that might be a stretch. But bottom line is that it seems that Riqui Puig is at least back in LA for a little while now. I think you'd probably expect him to stay now. He'll be out training. He'll be with the team. He'll be doing the stuff, that type of thing. He probably won't be training with the team, but I expect he'll be training off to the side and doing those things. So that's big news for LA Galaxy fans. It's been my contention that if you're the LA Galaxy, Kevin, that you want to get Riqui Puig out there as soon as possible. There's two things that you want to check out. One is you want to get him used to playing on this leg, and used to being how can I say this? But used to playing on it without it being injured, because basically he's had an injury for so long that he's got to learn to trust it again. But it's the mental side of things too, is playing without worrying about being injured and all those things, and he has to work that stuff through this year, the end of this year, so that way next year basically he's not trying to figure that out at the beginning of the season. I think they'll manage minutes and do a whole bunch of stuff to make sure that he is safe, because I don't think the Galaxy are going to be playing for much here, Kev. But that's sort of my take on it.
Well, and I thought end of August, early September. So it's a little. I feel like it's a little bit ahead of schedule. But the big key thing for him, he can do all the running he wants and shooting and passing and everything. I don't expect any of his teammates to try to tackle him on the training pitch.
He's going to wear one of those red bibs, right?
Yes, it'll be the first tackle in a game where everyone's going to have to hold their breath. And does Riqui roll over and get up, or does he lay there for a minute and hold his knee? And that will be, I think, the important part. Another thing that happened at training today is John Nelson said afterwards today that Greg Vanney is telling the players, like, second half, it's a standalone. We're starting over. Right now, I guess the Galaxy actually tied the first game of the second half. So right now they're unbeaten in the second half. And I think that is such a brilliant move on Greg Vanney's part. Everyone can look at the standings, know what the real record is, but Greg Vanney is basically saying, wash that, get rid of that. We're done with that. We don't have 12 losses. We've only played one game.
Yep.
We're unbeaten in our one game, and let's just move forward. I think that's a really good strategy. Try to get the players to focus on what's going on right now, not what happened back in April.
Yeah, you can see that. One of the things that popped up as well is there is a transfer rumor out there for Julian Aude. Argentinos juniors there apparently have made informal inquiries about LA Galaxy left back Julian Aude. The 22-year-old, according to the North Islanders here on Twitter, the 22-year-old is among the players the club is keeping an eye on as a possible substitute in the event that Roman Vega's transfer materializes. So, possible left back thing. Now, your updated news and your clarification on this is, from my sources, the LA Galaxy have not been contacted directly. So I would suggest that as of right now, it doesn't mean that they don't want Julian Aude. It just means that the LA Galaxy have not been put in a position to say yes, no, or oh, thanks for calling, any of those things. And so we will wait, we will watch, and we'll try to figure out exactly what it is. But Julian Aude, 22 years old, a U22 player, by the way, not starting, getting cleanup minutes behind John Nelson. John Nelson has done extremely well to keep his spot and his position and where he's at. And I think, in many ways, maybe this is a fault of Greg Vanney sometimes, they really like and again, no disrespect to John Nelson on this, but, vanilla defending. John Nelson is a vanilla defender. He plays well. He gives you that 7 performance every single game, the 6-7 performance every single game. He has been involved on the offense way more than I think anybody ever expected to him. That part of his game has evolved, so he's put it in there. The thing is, though, with Julian Aude, Kevin, you have a technical player who's able to get forward, who can play in small spaces, who can do, I think, has more tools than John Nelson. But for whatever reason, Greg Vanney is putting John Nelson out there every single game. Now, does that change down the stretch as the Galaxy sort of, try to recollect or sort of reconvene their thoughts for this second half? Does Julian Aude get more playing time as you go through this? Maybe, but right now, Julian Aude sort of seems like he's extra, and he's a U22 player taking up a vital spot that the LA Galaxy could need. I'm not suggesting that they move on from Julian Aude. I'm actually really high on Aude. I still want to see him get more minutes. That being said, he is an asset, and he's an asset that they could use here, Kevin.
Yeah, and I think you'll see a lot of that in the second half. I do think that there'll be some guys that will be quietly auditioning, maybe for other teams, or for the Galaxy to say, okay, we're thinking of moving on from this guy. Let's give him a couple games and see what he's really got. And Aude is one of those guys. I mean, what if they make an offer to the Galaxy that's underwhelming? Do you keep Aude and or do you say, like, John Nelson's the guy for the next couple of seasons? We can get through a couple seasons, and then we'll find somebody else. It's tough. If they come with a big offer, obviously you got to take it because you're rebuilding. But a U22 guy, an offensive outside back, those are hard to come by.
He has all the tools that I like. I still think. By the way, I got Jams says Aude a backup on the worst team in Major League Soccer. No way. And he's, by the way, not wrong, right? You're looking at that and saying, how is that possible? I watch this and I say that, the Galaxy, I think they need to see more Julian Aude. I think he needs to get more starts. I think he needs to play because you need to figure out what you have. And if you realize that what you have is good and you want to keep it, that's great. And if you realize what you have is good and you want to trade it, then you can do that as well. But, there's also some of that what you've seen from Aude is probably enough to get you some money for him, right? As it goes right now, and maybe you don't play him because you don't want that money to go away. Look at Gabriel Peck this year. You $20 million transfer, yeah, no problem. This year, $2 million transfer. You're sort of like waiting for things to sort of pick up.
Well, and the other thing with Aude is his age. He's the same age, basically the same age as Peck. A couple years younger than Riqui Puig. If you think that you can keep these guys together in an MLS, that's virtually impossible. But if you think you can keep these guys together, Aude may be part of this package of this young core of guys. Maybe that's another reason that you want to think about keeping him.
Yeah, it's again, we'll keep watching how that goes. I'm also watching the goalkeepers in this transfer window. If we're being clearly honest, Novak Mitrovic seems to have possibly moved into that number one spot. If that's the case, then you would expect that John McCarthy could go somewhere else. Because John McCarthy is a good goalkeeper and he deserves to be playing / starting for a team, and he's not going to get that with the LA Galaxy right now, especially as it seems they've transitioned into Mitrovic, and that that's something to watch. Whether JT Marcinkowski is also on the move, that could also be something to watch. So again, I don't expect that there's a ton of stuff that could possibly happen in this transfer. I will stay with the basics that I've sort of been told. The framework of how it could work is that the LA Galaxy could move some assets or possibly cash in on some of the 2026 money that they have and turn it into 2025 money to get something if they thought, and only if they thought, it would help them in 2026 as well as help them this year, right? So
you know what they're hoping for? An injury to a starting goalkeeper somewhere. I mean, just be honest, they're not going to say that. But can you imagine if a contender all of a sudden needed a goalkeeper? Galaxy are like, hey, we're open for business. We got 3 of them. Which one do you want?
Yeah, so certainly something to watch. By the way, Mr. Provino, who watches a lot of the Academy stuff and the MLS Next Pro, the U19 Academy doing really well. Ventura County FC, first place in MLS Next Pro right now. So there is some good talent on these developmental teams, whether it's MLS Next in the academies or MLS Next Pro. There's some talent there. Can you possibly find that talent and make that go forward for that U22 spot? Would you want to use that on a local talent? Would you want to use that on some international talent? There's ways that you can make these things happen. And now we get to watch the LA Galaxy sort of go through that. So with Julian Aude right now, I can tell you sources indicate that nobody at the Galaxy has been contacted. So I don't know that you have to worry about that. Having said that, I wouldn't doubt the interest in him. And smart teams, I think, will pay attention to the fact that Aude's not starting. And if he's not starting and not getting the minutes, then perhaps they could lure him away. And somebody like Julian Aude could really force the LA Galaxy to say, hey, you got to move me. You're not playing me. You got to move me. And this is the time. And these guys want me. So send me there. So we'll continue to watch that and certainly watch Julian Aude and watch for an uptick in minutes too. I'm still a little flummoxed by that. We'll keep figuring that one out as we go along. But yeah, that's sort of the Julian Aude thing. Does that all make sense for this transfer window, Kevin? I mean, we don't expect the Galaxy to do anything big. We know that. But there could be some moves that maybe are more outbound than inbound, but if they do get an inbound, then it would have to work for this year and next year.
But when you're talking about the Academy and Ventura and how well everybody's doing, don't forget, don't sleep on the first team. unbeaten in their last two.
That's right. The longest,
One of the hottest teams
unbeaten
in
streak.
MLS. Yeah,
That's
actually it's their second two-game.
I was going to say that. I actually
Unbeaten
tracked
streak.
that. It is their second game unbeaten streak. I have that somewhere. It's on one of my charts.
The other two were draws, though. This time they have 4 points in 2 games. That's a season high.
Season high. They're rocking and rolling now. Well, the LA Galaxy will get ready to take on the Colorado Rapids coming up. Before we do that, I wanted to get to this chart, Kevin, just because I know it drives you crazy. Somebody did the 2025, and this was Zoomph. That's ZOOMPH. To the 2025 MLS midseason rankings for social media and ranked by quote unquote social value. So basically, when you take kit brand value and impressions and engagements,
What's that second thing?
the impressions, kit brand value.
Dude, I can do impressions.
No, we don't want you to. Kit brand value, impressions, engagements, and you can turn that into a number. Inter Miami right now, they estimate that the kit brand value is about 3.1 million. They get about 1.37 billion impressions, 83.2 million engagements, and that's 40. They're putting a social value on that basically at $43.4 million. The second place team is LAFC with $3.39 million. That's right. A $40 million difference between number 1 and number 2. The LA Galaxy down here at number 8 at $1.82 million. They have $136,000 for the kit brand value. There's got to be a joke in there somewhere that somebody could make about Herbalife and the 136. But hey, I'll leave it to you guys to be the experts on that. 68.2 million in impressions and then 2.4 million in the engagement. So $1.82 million. This is my argument, Kevin, and I know we can talk about the validity of this chart means anything.
Inter Miami has a known player there.
I was going to say, this is whenever you want to argue that that you don't need star players. Listen, the Galaxy won an MLS Cup without what we'll call a brand name star player. My mom doesn't know who Riqui Puig is. That's her fault, by the way. She's the lesser for it. I 100% agree with everybody on that. But this is that value that you get. So if you can have a David Beckham and win MLS Cups, that's where your value is, right? If you can have a Zlatan Ibrahimovic and win MLS Cups, there's always the and win part of this. There has to be winning. Josh is I'm still there. Kevin, you have to have stars and you have to have winning, and you can have one without the other, right? Which the Galaxy, I would argue, did last year. Marco Royce is a name, came in halfway through. I wouldn't say he's the face of the team, but you can have stars. You can be without stars and you can win games, and that's great. That does it for you. But if you're talking about, to get the sort of worldwide success that David Beckham brought, that Zlatan brought, that the LA Galaxy are Major League Soccer, right? It's like right now it's Messi and Miami are Major League Soccer. You go into any mall and you can see that jersey hanging up, and that used to be that way with David Beckham. I still think there's an argument there.
Well, speaking of South Africa, I remember going into a hotel gift shop in South Africa with a Galaxy T-shirt on during that World Cup 2010, and the workers at the hotel all said, "LA Galaxy David Beckham." That's what they knew about American soccer. But I mean, what you're talking about is true now in every sport. Everyone talked about the Dodgers spending, I think, $70+ million a year on Shohei Ohtani, and a lot of it's deferred, but still they owe him that money. And people said that's ridiculous, doesn't make sense. You know what? They've already made that back in sponsorships from Japan. Now, you don't see that at the game. It's on Japanese TV. When you see those ads that pop up behind home plate, you don't actually see those in the stadium. They have made more money on Shohei Ohtani this season already than they will pay him. And so, I wanted to show you this. This is something that was made by Paris Saint-Germain. Can you see that there? They took their logo, they made an LA out of it. They've been selling that. They have a pop-up store here. They just won the Champions League, and they came to LA, and they started with a pop-up store. They've been selling LA merchandise. They talk about making themselves a brand. They want to be a cultural music. They partner with Beyonce. They partner with Michael Jordan. Inter Milan did a documentary or some sort of film with Spike Lee. These teams are looking for ways to make money off their success. So it does go hand in hand. When Inter Miami wins with Lionel Messi, they can go sell the team and say, we have the best brand. We're the best team. Wear our shirt because we're winners. And I'm talking to a lot of these clubs that are here for the Club World Cup. They're adamant about that. Look, this is an opportunity for us to get in the U.S. market and sell ourselves and make some money. No one's going to want to wear our shirt when we're 15th in Serie A. Right now, we're the second team in Europe. People want to buy our shirts, and that's where Miami is. Lionel Messi is going to retire at some point, and they're going to still be a good team, but they're not going to sell the same number of shirts. So it makes sense that when you look at that graph, you're absolutely right. The star power, a little bit of success, they're they advanced in the Club World Cup. Put that together, and people want to be part of your brand.
That's let's see how Miami does there. We can keep watching, and we'll eventually see how that all plays out. All right, the LA Galaxy getting ready to take on the Colorado Rapids coming up on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. 6:40 p.m. is going to be your kickoff time. That on Apple TV MLS Season Pass. So you go ahead and mark your calendars for that. Mr. Provino would like me to remind everybody that not only do weird things happen in Dallas and then weird things happen in Colorado, but in Colorado, the Prairie Dogs did have plague around the stadium. So that was also a thing. By the way, that stadium used to be like out in a field in Commerce.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. There's houses all around it and all sorts of stuff. So it is like right there.
And that's changed the way the ball plays there, by the way. Because the wind just used to whip through there. Not so much anymore. It's still probably not the best weather to play, and it does get cold, it does get windy, but with the houses around it, it's not so much of a howling wind anymore.
Yeah, we'll watch that. So anyway, that's the thing. Colorado's coming off a loss at home to Orlando. It was a 1-0 loss.
They've lost 3 in a row now, and they've scored 1 goal in those last 3 games.
Not only that, but whenever you put in all the goals, they've scored the same amount of goals as the LA Galaxy, which, by the way, ain't good, right? St. Louis has scored 1 less than the LA Galaxy. Austin, by the way, who's in 7th, has 15 goals. They just had a better defense. They're at -6 on their goal differential right now. And if you're going to watch a team that possibly could fall out of the playoff contention, I think that Austin might be one of those unless they figure out the offensive side of things. That being said, they just won their last 2 games. But the LA Galaxy at -21 on the goal differential, 18-4, 39 against. Colorado 18-4, 25 against, so they're -7. Really, when you think about it, Kevin, -7 and -21, those are right next to each other. These two teams might as well be mirror images of each other, right? Is that what we're going to try to?
And Colorado's won just 2 of its last 10, dating to April 12th. Although they are 4-4-2 at home, so they don't have a losing record at home. So if you have to play them, playing them at home is probably not where you want to do it. They also, as you look at those standings, they're in the last playoff spot. They're at 6-8-4 with 22 points. That's where the Galaxy have to get if they want. And are we still talking about this? I guess I am. That's where they need to get. That they need to take their 8 points and get it up there to where Colorado is if they want to be in the playoffs.
Patrick in the chat room says all of Colorado used to be out in the field. True. That is in fact correct. Especially the airport. It's out there in the plains. It's basically Kansas.
Stapleton was close though.
Stapleton was close, but Stapleton was too close, and that's why it was so bad to fly in there all the time. You wanted to talk about, mountain wave turbulence and all sort of stuff like that. That's why Stapleton was right there. Looking at the best players for Colorado, it's gonna be Navarro up top, and then even though on my particular chart here it says that the last name of the goalkeeper who has the highest rating on the team over all the games is DeFreitas, his name's actually Nico Hansen, and Nico Hansen has been very good. That being said, watched him in the Orlando game and thought he couldn't get his strong hand down fast enough. The ball went off of him and in for the only goal. Orlando scored in like the 23rd, 25th minute, something like that, and then held on and kept Colorado off the board. Here, to me, is the advantage for the LA Galaxy is that if we're going to assume that the LA Galaxy's offense is once again clicking, because we've been watching them score some goals, we've been watching them pick up the pace with that, 2 goals against RSL, 3 goals against St. Louis is starting to click a little bit. Gabriel Peck getting back in there, and then Marco Reus, again, we should expect to be healthy and playing in this game. So if you can put all those pieces together, we're going to suggest that the LA Galaxy's offense is back. If that's the case, then going to Colorado and scoring a couple goals is not an impossible feat, especially whenever Colorado struggles on the offensive side of things.
Well, do we know from the schedule when the Galaxy are flying up there? Because they are going to altitude, and generally the way you do it is you try to limit your time at altitude. So maybe they're flying up Wednesday morning.
I doubt it. I think this was a Tuesday afternoon departure. If I can find everything. Nope, that's not it. Let's see. Galaxy weekly schedule. We can do this on the fly as we scroll through it. I just want to make sure I get it right. Traveling in the AM, LA Galaxy to travel to Denver, Colorado in the AM. They will train PM in Denver, Colorado, and then play on Wednesday. So there.
Well, that is. I'd be interested to hear what Greg Vanney says about that, because that kind of flies in the face of the conventional wisdom, which is spend as little time there as possible. Leave the sea level air in your lungs. Don't go up there and train and run around. because you're not going to get acclimated in less than 48 hours. You're going to do yourself more harm than good. So Greg obviously has a different philosophy on that, and I'm sure it's one that he's been advised about. But I remember when Bruce Arena was here, and even GBS and Ziggy, everybody basically said, let's just fly up there, play the game, and get out of there.
Yeah, I wonder. One of the things that you want to do is avoid the afternoon travel in Colorado. So it would be to me that you want to fly in and get in the morning, just because of the chance that you could have thunderstorms and everything sort of pop up for you. Let's see, Wednesday, 51% chance of thunderstorms, at least in the south of Denver area. Just about 20 minutes south is what I have bookmarked in mine, where I visit most often. So that means that there are thunderstorms in this. So that makes sense that they would fly out in the AM now. So now it's about flying out on AM, because if you fly out on the PM, you may not get there. So there's your answer, Kevin. It was for weather.
And so let's look at the Galaxy. We just looked at Colorado. The Galaxy still lead the Wooden Spoon race.
Yes.
They have 8 points. The one win, the fewest wins in MLS modern era is 3, DC United 2013. I don't think the Galaxy need 2 in their last 16 to beat that, or at least tie that. Fewest points in the modern era is 14. Well, 14 is the fewest points ever. That was Tampa in 2001. Modern era was DC United 2013. They had 16 points. The Galaxy need to double their point total to match the lowest point total in the modern era.
Right.
Also, most goals allowed, 78. They're halfway there.
Yeah, I would say that's one of those things that you want to see change. If we're looking at good trends and where the LA Galaxy can go, that's one to sort of watch there. If you're I wanted to get to this. Colorado, after their loss to Orlando, it was Chris Armas was there. And by the way, people are saying, don't forget about Kevin Cabral. Kevin Cabral is there. Not playing any huge roles for Colorado right now, but Kevin Cabral is still there. But Chris Armas, after the loss to Orlando, said, the break comes at a good time. We'll take a step back. We'll look hard. We'll stick together. We have a process. Nights like this at home. Again, to lose is really disappointing for the locker room that puts an awful lot into it, and for our fans that came out in big numbers again. So listen, we're not going anywhere. We have a lot to play for. So much of the season left. Let's say half a season. Lots of home games are coming up, so we just have to get back to work after the break. We'll get ready to go. And I mentioned on Thursday that the LA Galaxy, by the end of this road trip, so as they finish this Colorado game, they'll be -3 in terms of they will have played 3 more away games than home games. And then whenever they are done with San Jose, they will be -4. Currently, as we sit right now, there is only one team that sits at -4, and that's at New England Revolution, who have only played 16 games. Right, Kevin? So that's it. They've played 4 more away games than they have home games. Everybody else, and if you go up to the standings, there's a lot of, +2s, -2s, +2s, -2s, and sort of keeping that. The thing with the LA Galaxy is they're going to go to -4, and they have played 4 more away games than they have home games. And then they're going to get 3 home games in a row, which will take them to a -1, right? So the 3 home games that we're watching, and you can sort of see them coming up here, the LA Galaxy against Vancouver. Too bad. One of the best teams in Major League Soccer come in to start that on July 4th. Yep, exactly. The good news is no short week that week, because usually the July 4th game is sandwiched in between a week, and then the Galaxy end up playing double games, and it's never good. Then it'll be July 12th where they'll host DC United, and then July 16th where they'll be hosting Austin. So those are the games. So those are the important ones to sort of watch there, because those 3 home games are places where the Galaxy are expected to pick up points, whereas in these road games, always a toss-up. Always a toss-up going on the road.
And that string that ends with LAFC, 3 games in 7 days, that'll be tough. Although they'll all be in LA, so
they will.
The road game is just up the freeway. By the way, do you know what else happens on Wednesday besides the Galaxy Colorado game?
What happens on Wednesday?
MLS All-Star team's going to be announced.
Oh yeah. So I mean, here's the question to you, to our listeners, to everybody. Are there any LA Galaxy players on the All-Star team? Now, I would like to point out this podcast has a history of saying don't vote for LA Galaxy players, because the last thing you want to do is put them into a meaningless game. That's not always fair to the players, but that we're at least consistent in that, Kevin. Or at least I am consistent in that every single year. But would you expect any Galaxy players to be called into the All-Star game?
I think Landon should be on the team.
Landon, they're going to call Landon in? It's a good idea. Yeah. It's a good idea. There's only one I can think of. There's only one. It's Marco Royce. Yeah.
And hasn't played enough minutes, I don't think.
I can agree with that. trust me, if you're an LA Galaxy fan, you don't want Marco Royce playing in the All-Star game when you're talking about a guy who has, a bad knee, trying to get back and be healthy for this. But I mean, that's sort of the question. When was the last time the LA Galaxy didn't have a player on the All-Star team?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. I can't remember off the top of my head. Can you go to 2017 and be like, oh, they didn't have anybody?
Well, if you say, okay, Marco Royce is the best one, and I would agree with that, although a lot of what he's done has been lately, and I don't know when the voting started, whether that might affect it. What about Mickey Amani? Has he been maybe their best player?
No, he hasn't been,
Okay.
but he's been one of the better players. So I did the key passes, and I looked at key passes, and both Marco Royce and Diego Fagundes have 25 key passes. And then Mickey Amani has 15. That's the next one.
That's Diego Fagundes. I think if he made the All-Star team, I don't think people would. I don't think the Galaxy are going to have any All-Stars, and when you have one win in
Right.
18 games, I think that's fair.
Right.
But I guess you're right. I guess Marco, and then maybe Diego over Mickey. But other than those three, I don't think there's anyone even in the conversation.
Yeah, it will. It'll be crazy. I think that Marco Royce is the only person is in that conversation. I don't think he goes because I don't think he'll want to. Mr. Provino says Garber will select him as a special selection, and then Royce will be injured, and then he'll get suspended by Garber. Remember that was the Zlatan rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So there you go. The All-Star game coming up. That game in Austin.
If you say so.
I think it's in Austin. I think I remember seeing that. Yes, it's in Austin.
Oh man, you're telling me that Marco Royce is going to pass up a trip to Austin in July? Really? I don't know about that.
It could only get better if it was Charlotte. Charlotte in July. It was one of those. He didn't want to go play for Charlotte. He wanted to play for the LA Galaxy, but that's where it is. Looking at the Colorado game, again, just sort of the guys. Jordi Mihalovic is a great player. You're going to watch him in the center of midfield. The Galaxy will have to try to contain him. Rafael Navarro is then there as their number 9, and then their goalkeeper, Nico Hansen. You can always look out for Kevin Cabral. If we're looking at betting, I'll tell you right now,
This is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes, we're not professionals. We don't bet. And you should never bet on Major League Soccer because it's stupid. I'll say right now, the LA Galaxy are heavy underdogs. And if you're looking at a bet to possibly place on this, the draw on this is a good number, Kevin. The draw is plus 275. And an LA Galaxy win is plus 209. The draw is I think a better bet. So just in case you were looking at that. Yes.
Go back to that first window. And by the way, this is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes.
Go back. Yeah. Look at when you see LA Galaxy 1, 12, and 5. That just, I'm sorry. I've been here all season. I know that's the record, but it looks like a typo. It looks like it's not supposed to be that way.
I know. Did they get it backwards? Is that what it is? So the LA Galaxy had 27.1% chance to win, 25.6% chance of a draw, and Colorado has a 47, almost, if we're rounding up here, Kevin, we're almost 50% chance of winning. They expect the projected goals at 1.53 for Colorado, 1.08 for the LA Galaxy. That takes into account scoring goals on the road, and the LA Galaxy haven't done a lot of that. So that's where we sit in terms of that game and how it goes. Again, that game will kick off at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday. 6:40 p.m. is your exact kickoff time, and then Apple TV MLS Season Pass is where you can find it.
Man, the old super chats are quiet today.
It is what it is, man. What are you going to do? We haven't, quite honestly, it's been my fault because the video hasn't worked. The audio has been crap. The last show, and I said this, I tweeted this out. This is what happened on the last show. We couldn't get, this is not even your show. This was Thursday with Eric.
So the one no one listens to anyways.
The one nobody ever listens to. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
We couldn't get the video to work because Teams wasn't allowing it. Even after I uninstalled and installed it like 2-3 times, right? So that didn't happen. Then, whenever we started the show, the audio wasn't connected to YouTube, so that screwed it up. This is like total amateur hour, like just across everything. So the audio wasn't. So we figured that out. We got the audio working. That was fine. And then about 18 minutes into the show, my SD card decided to error and just filled up with a whole bunch of crap and just stopped recording. So
I hate when that happens.
It's horrible. So what I had to do over the weekend was I had to format all my SD cards, which meant that I then had to reload all the music and all the sound drops and all the things that we keep on that. Had to reconfigure the pad because the soundboard is always set up and ready to go for us, right? So that was already there. And so I had to put that on there as well. So I had to reconfigure the entire podcast. make sure that all of the audio levels were somewhat correct. And again, I'll be messing with those for the next month because that's what happens whenever you switch everything back. Had to get the SD card formatted, had to get Teams working and all this stuff. It's been an amateur hour over here. I don't blame people for being upset. So that's fine.
You know, you really earned your pay this week.
Yeah, something like that. Aaron, by the way,
there's a super chat right
$2,
there.
$2 super chat. He calls it the pity super chat. So you got $2, Kevin. You and I can split that. So whenever I see you, I will owe you less than $1 because
no, you still owe me a jersey.
I have it here. Just like you have to show up to a game, and I have to be at the game, and all that stuff.
We have Bark at the Park coming up.
We do have Bark at the Park, and Purina is pups at the pitch.
On the pitch. Oh,
yeah, pups at the pitch.
Are we going to do our thing again, or is Purina going to?
No, we have not been hired once again. I think it was probably you is the reason they didn't want to do it anymore.
You know that little harness that dog is wearing, and that dog looks like Georgie, my dog. We have that exact same harness.
Oh, you do.
Yes, we do.
You lucky person, you. Pups at the Pitch coming back in 2025. Saturday, July 12th versus DC United. Sunday, August 10th versus Seattle. Saturday, August 30th versus FC Dallas. And Saturday, September 20th versus FC Cincinnati. So those are the ones that you can do it. You have to go to lagalaxy.com to buy these special tickets. And then there's a whole bunch of requirements for the dog. Let's see. Tom Braun said, we're thrilled to bring Pups at the Pitch for a third season in partnership with Purina. And this collaboration allows us to create one of the most joyful and community-driven events celebrating the bond between our fans and their pets while delivering a truly unique match day experience. All dogs must, this is not Tom Braun, that was the end of the quote, but this is the requirements. All dogs must be leashed at all times and up to date on vaccinations. Fans must purchase the Pups at the Pitch ticket package to access the dog-friendly area. One dog per adult ticket holder. So that's where you go right there.
Wow. They have to be vaccinated. What does Kennedy say about that? I thought the vaccines didn't work.
It's just just for rabies and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure. Yes.
By the way, Purina, call us. Call me. We had such a great time last year. Remember, we did that live thing, and we got some dogs adopted, which was totally awesome.
I was in for that. Like it was a lot of fun. I did have a lot of fun doing that. By the way, Patrick gave us a $5 super chat. He says my pity is more offensive than Aaron's pity. Is that a word, Mr. Writer? Or I don't know. My thesaurus isn't very good.
Irregardless. Remember, I got rung up for that a couple of weeks ago.
For Aaron. Aaron does like irregardless more than anything else. So that's what we got. The LA Galaxy taking on the Colorado Rapids. Then quickly, as we look to the schedule again, going up against the San Jose Earthquakes. So that will be on June 28th up at Stanford Stadium, one of my most hated stadiums. Wonderful. All right. Anything else? By the way, what stadium is your most hated stadium? Any stadium that you've been to anywhere in the world at any time? Which one are you like? Do not.
Oh my God, there's too many.
There's too many.
Yeah. I've had a lot of stadiums that I didn't like. The one that Espanyol uses, the second team in Barcelona, did not like that one at all. Most of the MLS ones, I guess, one of my least favorite. I love Vancouver, the city, but the stadium is just, it has no personality.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of Avaya. I do like being, or whatever it's called,
PayPal Park.
I do like being next to the airport, and I do like the city and all that stuff. So I guess I really can't.
Everybody says that I'm crazy. I actually really like that stadium. I love the press box. I love how it sits like you out over the field. I think it's easy to get in and out of. And then it is right next to the airport, which makes travel time real easy. So that's good. I have no problems with that stadium. I haven't been to enough to tell you. I did not like what was the old San Diego stadium that was that down in that they tore down to put in Snapdragon.
Oh, Qualcomm.
Oh, that place was a pit.
Well, that was a lot like old Yankee Stadium. They knew they were going to tear it down at some point, and they just stopped trying to fix it up. And by the end, it was a hellhole.
Patrick says that pensive, and I don't know that I'm saying that correctly. It's Dutch, and it translates to beautiful and intelligent. So he was talking about me whenever he said that. So,
yeah, obviously.
Beautiful and intelligent. That's what it is.
Hey, you want to see what I got in New York? I got a Statue of Liberty panda. How about that?
Is your house... Did you? So this is funny. My grandmother had cows she like whenever we would go somewhere, if you found a cow, a black and white cow, right, you would get it for her and you give it to my grandma, and she'd be, oh, thank you, she'd be so excited about it, the whole deal. My grandmother, by the way, did sound like an old grandmother all the time. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, this is wonderful. The whole deal. And my mom asked her one year when she started collecting cows and why she liked cows so much. She goes, I don't like cows. She goes, people just started giving them to me. And then, so is that you now? Is your house full of pandas?
Yeah,
and you don't even know
I do
why?
have a lot of pandas, but we also have cows. The lovely and talented Mrs. Panda grew up on a farm and was at one point the Florida Agricultural Writer of the Year.
Okay.
Won a big award for that. And so she does collect cows. She has pictures of cows, little ceramic cows. So we do have cows and pandas. I don't know.
Okay. Aaron said that
Yeah.
his mother collected cows too. Cows are a thing, apparently. I don't know what.
You know what?
What?
Maybe this is a Statue of Liberty cow. Cows and pandas.
They're similar. They're similar.
Yeah.
I mean, not in real life, but in stuffed animals as stuffies. They are.
Yeah.
There's something there. So, I had to go up to the Bay Area with my oldest for a trip, and so we went up there. We drove up there, and then we drove back. On the way back, we stopped at Harris Ranch to use the restroom, and they had some ice cream there. We got some ice cream, that type of thing. So we were there, and so we wanted to buy my youngest a stuffed animal. So we bought him a little cow that has little horns on it and stuff like that, and then we named the cow Steak. And so we gave it to him, and so we go, here's Steak, the whole deal. And he thinks it's the funniest thing. He goes, it's steak. And by the way, my kid loves steak, so he's like 100% locked in now that steak comes from cows, and that's how that works, the whole deal. And so we're gonna have to get him a stuffed animal that's a pig, and we're gonna name it Bacon, right? And then we were trying to figure out, what do you name a chicken? Like, do you name them Wings? Chicken wings? That way it works that way, because you can't. Chicken's just chicken. So,
well,
anyway.
way back in a previous life, I'm vegetarian. So way back in a previous life, we had a Japanese exchange student live with us. Her name was Mihoko. And,
that poor young lady.
Yeah, I know. We went to some sort of I forget what the event was, but there was a cow in a cage in a pen outside. And Mihoko and I went over there, and I was giving her the whole thing. Look how cute that cow is. Look how friendly it is. Look, the cow wants to come up and see you. That's what they make hamburgers and steak out of. Do you really want to eat that cow? That cow's so nice. And she finally looked at me and she said, I like the cow, but it tastes so good. And that was the end of it. So I lost that conversation. She liked the cow, but she still wanted to eat it.
Jonathan says you name a chicken original recipe or extra crispy. That's 100%.
Oh.
By the way, my oldest said whenever we were driving, she goes, can we stop at KFC? I'm like, do you want to? And she's like, yeah, I want to stop at KFC. I'm like, is that because your mom never lets you go to KFC? And she's like, yeah. And I'm 100% like, all right, let's stop at KFC. So we initiated her into the KFC family there as well. So just tons of milestones on this trip. Side note, every train that I wanted to visit on the way up, which there were multiple trains I wanted to visit on the way up, every single one was closed. And they were all opening for the summer and having their summer hours where they were open all week that next weekend before I got to stay there. So I need to go back up.
Where is Harris Ranch?
Harris Ranch is on the 5 on the other side. It's a little ways past what's the pass the pass going over
El Cajon.
El Cajon, like it's down.
No. Yeah, the Tijon Pass or whatever. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So
the Grapevine.
Yeah, the Grapevine. On the other side of the Grapevine,
okay,
down on the flat.
I know where it is.
Yes,
yeah,
the Harris Ranch. Yeah, Harris Ranch is famous because they have good food there, ribs and stuff like that, because they used to have a lot of cows there. Where they would basically, it was like direct from the distributor, right? It was one of those you could cut down on the things.
Sure tastes good. That's also where ranch dressing comes from.
Yes, 100%. Everybody's screaming, Grapevine, you dimwit. I know. And Jonathan does point out Harris Ranch does have a runway, and you can fly into Harris Ranch and then hold it. We did not. We were driving, and so we went. We got some the strawberry sorbet. Very reasonable on price, very delicious. Good stop there. Nice little stretch, and then back in the car. There was a fire in the Grapevine while we were coming through there, and we actually got to see it up on the hills a little bit, and they had it mostly under control by the time we came through there. So Aaron says you can smell Tehachapi, also a correct answer. Valencia, just on the other side of the Grapevine, really. I was right. I almost called you, but then you were going to be like, hey, why don't you stop by? And I was thinking, no, we're going. We are going. So that's where it is. All right, LA Galaxy playing the Colorado Rapids coming up on Wednesday night, 6:40 p.m. is your time. Anything else, Kevin?
Yeah, don't forget to check the All-Star team. just don't look for any Galaxy players.
We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. All right. If you are looking for Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter, and why would you? On all your social media there, it's at kbaxter11, and then head over to latimes.com, where he covers all sorts of different sports, all different types of things right there, latimes.com. Kevin is your jack of all trades whenever it comes to it, especially soccer and all that fun stuff. If you're looking for me on any of the social media, it's at Galaxy Podcast, cornerofthegalaxy.com is, of course, where you can find us. Colorado Rapids coming up, then it's San Jose coming up at the end. This is going to be a quick week for the LA Galaxy, and then it'll be 3 home games in a row with July 4th kicking all that off. All right, that about does it for Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter. I am Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everyone.